This is actually about my hometown. My hometown's a seaport town and crippled entirely by Margaret Thatcher and the closure of the steelworks and all the coal mines around it. So there's no point to have any docks there anymore. But Joe Strummer used to live in my hometown. And what used to come in the early 70s when I was still at high school, but he was raving it up and learning to be a rock and roller in my hometown, was the banana boats used to come in from the Caribbean. And they always the crews brought in fresh reggae platters. So when I was a kid, we used to sneak down by my mother would always shout when I was leaving the house when I was about 15 or 16 years old. She'd go, "You're not going down Pill, are you?" Because Pilgwethley was the area by the docks, it was the village, and it was full of everything a young seaman would need returning from a long voyage. Everything he needed was there. And she knew that the interests of a 15 or 16-year-old boy almost entirely coincided with that. And if she was to draw a Venn diagram of those interests, it would just be a circle. So we would go down and we go to the reggae clubs and we go to the Irish bars where they'd serve you drinks underage, and we would go to the curry houses, folk clubs, jazz club. It was like heaven. It was brilliant. The town was booming at the time. And lots of guys would come. One night, I like the story because one night we were sat in a pub, I think it was all the pubs. I never worked out if it's by the docks and all these blokes are getting off boats, why do all the pubs look like boats? And they've all got boat stuff in them, like those round things you throw over, and ropes everywhere. All the pubs look like that. It seems a bit weird. It'd be a good idea to open a pub that didn't look like a boat. Maybe all the sailors would be so relieved. And I realised that all the pubs were owned by old sailors who'd retired and didn't go to sea anymore. So it was like, so they wanted their little boat. So but I said we would go in all these pubs. And I'd go with my dad as well on a Saturday morning to look at the boats coming into the docks. This is again at the height of the Cold War, and there'd be Russian ships would be there with hammer and sickle flags. You know, I was supposed to be at war with them, what's going on? And it's one night a bunch of, I think they were like Bulgarian sailors or something. They had really nice uniforms. They all came in, they were like very jolly and having a nice time, with brass buttons with like hammers and sickles or something on them. You know, and it's like, look at them, in their uniforms, and they're all drinking, getting hammered. Everybody else is getting drunk. They're just like us, you know. They're vomiting on their shoes and drinking too much. But the best punk club in Newport was run by a sailor. And it did not look like the inside of a boat. It looked like the inside of his brain. Because his mum was from Pill and his dad was from the Seychelles, and his dad was a sailor who'd come into Newport and got off the boat and forgot to get back on. So busy was he fathering Johnny Socola, who ran TJ's punk. He wanted it to be a nice Spanish restaurant, but it ended up being a punk club. But when I moved to the States, I thought no one would know where I was from. And I met Jesus Lizard, Big Black, Butthole Surfers, yes, all those, and they'd all played at TJ's in my hometown. So you're from Newport? Do you know TJ's? I was like, yeah, that's my mate who runs it. The big fat bloke who looks like Tom Jones. That's him. That's my mate. And when this story's going on a bit, but when Kurt Cobain went there to see Hole, when they apparently consummated their relationship that night, and then it was. Johnny Socola was on the door, and they said, "I gotta let him in. He's Kurt Cobain. He's in Nirvana." He said, "I don't give a fuck. Weird. You pay a favour like everybody else." Yeah. But this is for John Socola. He went to see himself, but he ended up running a punk club. A pit bull tattoo, one good eye of blue, just wondering still. But what can you do? These ropes are all anxious. No, they're not anxious. These ropes are all tangled around me. I'm a sailor who wandered a little too far from the sea. Did they raise up this child just to die? To stare for too long into one sky? Well, surely bassies from Tiger Bay, but I'll spend my life down in Pill. They shut down the docks, thrown our lives on the docks, but my good eye is wandering still. Past the pubs where I fester all day. Transport a bridge, transport me away. These ropes are all knotted, tangled around me. I'm a sailor who wandered a little too far from the sea. They passed in the channel, great ships by the score, to carry out coal and carry in ore. And at night these old sea legs were anxious to stray. They come from all over, but never intended to stay. So tell me something I don't know. Find me a skipper with somewhere to go. These ropes are all knotted, they're tangled around me. I'm a sailor who wandered a little too far from the sea. Getting back to the George Drummer thing.